Subscribe or they will haunt you. People living in third world countries. What is something that is a part of your everyday life that people in first world countries would not understand/cope with? If you have any sorts of money and show it, you're just asking to be robbed and or killed. In a first world country, thieves wait until you're away from home and then break into your house. In a third world country, they'll break into your house while you're at home, rob you at gunpoint, rape your wife and your daughter, and then kill your whole family. If you're lucky, they'll just shoot you in the head or slit your throat, but God forbid they have some sadistic tendencies, because then they'll make it slow and painful. If you're rich, it's just not worth living in a third world country unless you have armed security. All those rich families living in the Hamptons or Hollywood Hills, or the UK, French, and German equivalents, don't have to worry about having their house sacked like a 10th century English town by murderous thieves. If you get sick, you're pretty much on your own. Simple things like a cold can kill you. Cops are not your friends. In fact, they are probably friends with robbers. We have water once every 3 months. You have a tank with water and you must be very good at rationing it. If you are robbed, raped or a victim of any crime, you should think carefully before calling the police. Something like, is this really worth taking a chance on? Forget about delivery services. They don't exist, they are not safe. Do you want to buy something on the internet? Forget. Did you buy something online and use a generic mail service? Bye-bye to your object. Wait 10 hours in line to buy food. Yes. The fact that you will see people die in front of your eyes for violent crimes several times during your life and you will accept it as normal. Learn to detect people within a 200-meter radius around you when you walk down the street. Your currency loses value in exponentials literally. Spotify, Uber, SoundCloud, Netflix, lol. Technically, having a boyfriend/girlfriend is against the law in Iran. We still have a significant other, but sometimes when you're walking in the street, police might stop you and ask for your marriage license. And if you don't, it actually can be a real problem. Women with 3 warnings should appear in court and men will be fined and maybe caught too. Even if you're not together, just friends, you might end up in court just because you had a friend from the opposite sex. And I can list crap like this till tomorrow, and it won't be half of the shit we go through in Iran. I don't live there anymore, but I used to live in Guatemala. Here's a list of some of the differences I remember. Every house I lived in was inside a gated community. This was the case for many homes in the city of Antigua, where I lived. Each community was like 4 to 10 houses surrounded by concrete walls and barbed wire on top. Some had a guard manning the gate. You could not drink tap water. We had a 5-gallon water filter in our house that we filled with tap water. After a few hours, it drip filtered enough water for us to drink. We could not flush toilet paper. The pipes were too small. It had to be thrown away, or the toilet would be messed up. Lots of stray dogs. Ones we saw a rat running down the hall, and the nicest hospital in the area. The grocery store we went to has organization that made no sense. Toothpaste would be put with the canned goods. No fancy aisles. Instead of scanning barcodes, the employees would manually enter each item you purchased. No plastic bags, just cardboard boxes. Earthquakes and power outages were both super common. At night, people loved to light firecrackers in the street for no reason. These things were powerful and had crazy amounts of gunpowder. You could pay people to watch your car if you parked it on the street to keep it from being broken into. There were no traffic lights in this city. You just kinda guessed what other people were doing. The bananas were amazing there though. The open air market was one of the best things about living there. Bananas in the US, where I moved back, to taste like wax in comparison. I know the people in this thread are toning it down, but personally I find living in a third world country unbearable now that I've moved to the States. I moved to maybe 20 of them while I was a kid in Africa, and some are better than others, but nah, it's not good. The corruption is serious, like I don't think people get how serious it is. Cops ask for bribes constantly, security is armed to the teeth, and at the complete mercy of whoever hired them. The government has complete control. Food, water, and electricity are not guarantees. You have to hustle to get internet in some places. Your house is super protected because people try to break in. You see people starving to death, thirsty, going mad sick, clearly maimed people begging on the street. Kids hearing that people they know are dead is a regular occurrence. You may even see someone that died on the road. That's just in an average place. In the really bad places I've met mercenaries, people that have killed, women fleeing traffickers, autistic, and mentally ill children that were cast from society for being different. Hell, slavery was legal one place I lived until 2007. All of this was seen before I turned 17. This is also ignoring the social problems that rampantly exist in those societies due to colonization and the West being perceived as better. You frequently meet people with such potential that have been beaten down by their society. To function in those societies, you have to consciously ignore the horrible things you are seeing and experiencing. It made me extremely strong mentally compared to most people I meet in the States, but I couldn't remain blind to what I was seeing. Chose to go to college somewhere else. Whenever I go home I freak out because the problems are huge. I can't focus on the positives. Here in Peru, especially if you are not from the capital, to get a medical appointment you need to wait 3 months. For surgeries or actual medical treatments it can take over a year. So many people I knew got random appointments just in case something happens. You'd better suffer the hemorrhage that day or you have to pray for the eucalyptus tea to actually work. Thank goodness I was able to move to the capital some years ago. I'm a girl living in Brazil. Living in constant fear for my safety every time I leave the house is exhausting. I've lived and worked in developing countries. Some of these reflect a particular type of developing environment, post-colonial, tribal/collectivist, fairly late to encounter other societies. A few highlights. Women carrying second burner phones in their bras so they can call for help if they are stranded by being carjacked. Not being able to access parts of your city fairly regularly due to tribal fighting. Not being able to access civil services for ludicrous reasons. One time I had to wait 2 months for a driver's license because the only card printer in the city was on loan for IDs for a high-profile sporting event. People sincerely believing other people got to positions of power by cursing their opponents. Easy come, easy go attitudes to money. This seems counterintuitive, but in a collectivist culture you tend not to be able to retain money. It just washes in and out. Managing money just means distributing it through your clan in whatever way gets you the most benefit along the way. You don't have the option of hanging on to it, or even delaying sharing it. Town water and power periodically being rationed. You may have certain days of the week or hours of the day when you can use it. The smell. Garbage collection is usages and a lot of people just dump or burn it. Extraordinary difficulty, sometimes, to access normal services. Children living on islands may swim to school with their clothes in double layers of plastic bags. People die young. The newspapers are full of obituaries for people in their 30s and 40s. Whole countries held together with twine and duct tape. The army will borrow a tank of jet fuel from a businessman or politician to get a plane back home. My husband once loaned his phone to a public sector chief to call the minister because the department's phone service had been disconnected for non-payment. Government workers periodically turn up to find their workplace chained up by the owner for non-payment of rent. They shrug and go home. TV services will go off the air for days because the power bill isn't paid and no one remembered to fill the generator with fuel. The level of corruption. If you want to get something simple done, like get a passport or receive a duplicate of your high school diploma, it's all handled by the government, which is oversaturated, so it takes months, even years for things to happen. Unless you pay someone a small bribe, then it gets done immediately. Third world doesn't mean poor, it means unequal. The rich folks have everything and live just like they do in America. But the poor, they're poorer than your worst nightmares. The poor in third world countries see the poorest beggar in America and dream to one day be as rich as they. They are excluded from so much and no one cares. Funny thing is that many of these third world countries spend fortunes on welfare initiatives that never work and which are instead used to funnel money to corporations owned by politicians or to move people in need to vote a certain way. People will sell their vote for a meal because sometimes one meal is all they'll have for weeks. The powerful want the inequality because that makes it easier and cheaper to manipulate the poor. Third world doesn't mean poor country. It means an equal country. Having a shit ton of deterrence mechanisms around your house. Burglar bars on all the windows, trellis doors on your front door, and then probably one in the bedroom hallway. Keeping your door locked. If you don't have a fence, you're just asking people to break in and murder you. South Africa. Armed security people go to the bank. 2 guys holding R15 at the entrance. The beer delivery truck. Guy with a shotgun. Whenever there's money involved, there will be guys holding big guns. I've been pointed twice while walking on the wrong side of the street. I visited family in El Salvador about a decade ago now, and it was like this at the time. There were guys with guns guarding things I wouldn't see at home. In the US, there was a man with a shotgun guarding a gas station and buffet-style restaurant food place. This was along the road and not in town. I also remember there was a guy who watched all the cars at this big grocery store while people went shopping, and my aunt would give him small change as a tip. Not many doctors and emergency appointments are scheduled for 1 to 2 years later. Oh, hospitals are saturated too. Whatever we are given as a donation from other big countries, we either don't have the equipment or specialized people to make it work. Stray dogs. Stray dogs, which some of them are hostile, are everywhere. It is not possible to roam in the streets around sunrise when they walk in groups or during night without risking yourself being attacked by dogs. I moved to Europe now, but I'm still unreasonably nervous around leash dogs that people walking